Well, my key experience, which literally hit me like a ton of bricks, goes back to a time when I still was a TV journalist in my early 30s. The incident that shook me and completely changed my life was a key moment which I can see clearly before my eyes even today, and which you will also be able to see in a moment because it is captured on tape, because my cameraman filmed it. So let's go back to the year 2000. At the time, I was a TV journalist for the Foreign Desk, First German Television, reporting about the political and economic developments in Southeastern Europe in the Balkans. Traveling back and forth, doing my research and my interviews there, and collecting footage in the Balkan states. Back in Germany, I would finish my reports and documentaries and broadcast them. That was my everyday life. The countries there were poor, corruption and organized crime just normal. By the way, even today. I wanted to give something back to these countries that enabled me to earn a living. So I regularly donated some money that I put aside as direct humanitarian aid. So I came to visit a prison for underage girls in Bulgaria. I knew beforehand that these girls would lack everything. They would have no heating, no clothes, no food, and no medicine. And I knew that my saved money would help a lot. I thought I would meet young criminals there. Instead, I met underage girls between 8 and 18 years old who had been forced into prostitution all over Europe, victims of human trafficking like the 11-year-old Nikolinka.
This is a burn scar. It's already old. I was still little and did not want to do these things, but then the man grabbed my head and pushed it onto the burning stove. After that, I always did what I was told. Does it hurt? No, but I will always have the scar.
I see your faces, and I can tell that you are shocked. And even though I know my video footage by heart, I cannot help feeling outraged every time I watch it again. Who would do this to children? Who would use these children? I found some answers when I asked the 16-year-old Cecil. She was first forced into prostitution when she was 13.
I was lucky. I only had to be with men who beat me once. For a whole week, they took me with them to the Black Sea. 3 strong men beat me with a baseball bat and raped me with it. At that time, I still had long hair and they cut it off. After being raped with a baseball bat, I could not get off the toilet for 2 weeks.
I asked her where she had been afterwards. In Italy, she told me, and then in a brothel close to the borders to Kosovo. There she had been forced to satisfy soldiers, United Nations
soldiers.
They
were afraid that they might be penalized, but the soldiers all came, bringing their superiors as well. They came again and again, more and more frequently.
That was the moment. That was my breakthrough moment. What? Raped with a baseball bat? What? Soldiers? United Nations soldiers? What? A by then 14-year-old girl forced to prostitute herself with supposed peacekeepers? In fact, the war and the bombings in Kosovo had just been over. Peacekeeping troops, thousands of United Nations soldiers were all over the Balkans, stabilizing the region and defending human rights and peace. But instead of defending human rights and peace, these United Nations soldiers would abuse them. They would buy sex services from underage girls raped and forced into prostitution. Deeply shocked. I was deeply shocked at that very moment. But I didn't show it. I pulled myself together. And that was the moment of the breakthrough of my conviction, which drives me until today, every day. Look, listen, ask, act. Look closely, listen carefully, ask frankly, and then act. In this initial moment, I knew instinctively there is no need for pity. There is no need to only shed a few tears because of the atrocities that had happened to that girl. But it is necessary for someone to look closely. It is necessary for someone to listen carefully to the story and the dreams and the wishes of a human being. It is necessary for someone to ask frankly, but warm-heartedly. And it is necessary for someone to act, to change the world at least a little for the better, because there's no one else to act. For me, my conviction became an integral part of every sphere of my life, be it in extraordinary situations like this, be it in private life, be it in charity, or be it in business. Look, listen, ask, act. Look closely, listen carefully, ask frankly, and then act. How did the story go on? Remember, I was a journalist by then. It would have been absolutely sufficient and very honorable to just make an investigative report about the horrific human trafficking scandal. I mean, peacekeeping troops and prostitution, underage prostitutes, sex and crime. What a story, what a scoop. Lots of journalists dream about such an opportunity. And yes, of course, I did an investigative TV report, and it became a huge sensation. It shook everybody up. Society, politicians, human rights organizations, and the peacekeeping troops. Today, it is a known fact that peacekeeping troops, United Nations soldiers, are very often involved in human trafficking and human rights abuses. Awareness raising and education among peacekeeping troops are now standard. But sadly enough, these human rights abuses done by United Nations soldiers still happen today. Look, listen, ask, act, because there's no one else to act. I felt that I could act. I felt that I could not only change the world of these girls a little bit for the better, but that I could also start raise awareness about the big business human trafficking. With my capabilities, with my videos, with my voice, with my questions, with my hands. Look, listen, ask, and act. So I started several humanitarian aid programs. I was a journalist, I had a lot of contacts, I could connect people and organizations. I did also very hands-on humanitarian work. Some of the programs are still running today. I wrote and write books on human rights violations. I deliver speeches, I hold seminars, and I teach human rights at the university. I am now an international expert for human trafficking and a human rights activist. But actually, that was never my job. I was a journalist then. I'm a businesswoman now, running several companies. It is just my conviction. Look, listen, ask, and act, because there's no one else to act. By the way, asking. I found the trafficker, the pimp who forced 14-year-old Cecil into prostitution. And I asked him about his human trafficking business. Frankly, but always warm-heartedly, never judging. He, of course, is a trafficker, a pimp, an unscrupulous pimp, a criminal. And of course, I reject and detest violence categorically. But if you don't ask, you will never have answers. So, okay, here he is, a Macedonian man in his 40s, married, 2 children, making big money dealing with girls.
It's just normal trade. Everyone who brings girls wants to make some money with it, make a profit. But I treat my girls like human beings, not like prostitutes. In the end, I also help them to return home. With some others, they might not even have the chance to leave. Often I feel very sorry for them. After all, it's hard, and none of them are doing it voluntarily.
This pimp helped Cecil home indeed, in a very special way. He let her be caught in a police raid. He wanted to get rid of her because she would not perform. And the police officer was his best friend. So Cecil was extradited to her home country, Bulgaria, into prison because she was looked upon as a criminal, not a victim. After all, she had been abroad illegally. Look, listen, ask, and act. When you ask, even the bad guys, and even the most simple and naive questions, you will wonder, and you will learn a lot. Let's look, listen, and ask another bad guy, a prostitute's client, a John. We filmed him in Frankfurt after he had visited a brothel, and we asked him a very naive question.
About half of the women working here come out of terrible poverty, from Eastern Europe, from third world countries. Are punters not concerned about this at all?
Yes, but isn't it actually great? Maybe I've already financed some school satchels in Colombia, or helped build some houses with my money. I would actually call this, even if it might sound ironic, development aid, without bureaucracy.
Development aid without bureaucracy. Look, listen, ask, and act. Remember the words Albert Schweitzer said? Albert Schweitzer, the great doctor, philosopher, and humanitarian helper. The small thing you can do is a lot. It's about the small things. It's about the small steps we can take. Okay, I need now your cooperation. It's time for a little test and for a little game. We do not have much time, I see, so we will hurry up. Please turn now to the person next to you, say hello, tell her or him your name, ask them where they come from, make yourself acquainted a little bit, yeah? Okay. You also here, I see, no, you're also together, yeah? Wonderful. Okay, I mean, you can continue afterwards in the break. Okay, so let's do it quickly. I give you 1 minute each. And now, please tell your neighbor about your last sexual experience. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? What is so funny? Why are you laughing? I do hope for you that your last sexual experience was a very beautiful one and that it was a voluntary act. But as you see, still you are not able and you do not feel comfortable to talk about it. And now, can you imagine how hard it is for the victims of trafficking to speak out? In front of police officers, social workers, journalists, or at court? about a sexual experience which they didn't participate in voluntarily and which certainly wasn't a beautiful one for them. What I wanted to show you is that speechlessness, shame, and taboo often stop our efforts, even before we can take action. But you can overcome this dilemma. How? Look, listen, ask.